Many of us have things that we no longer use, which often get dumped in a donation pile somewhere in our closet and eventually get taken to a local Goodwill or nonprofit. But what if I told you that the old pair of shoes lying around, or that t-shirt from 5 years ago that you donated, were eventually the Christmas gift of a child in Africa? Hi, my name is Amaris Iwara, and while watching my now favorite movie, Before I Fall, I came across something known as the butterfly concept. At first, it struck me, and I dismissed it as obviously a false fairy tale. But then I dug deeper and I researched further, and I realized that it was actually a real thing. It's a term coined by the meteorologist, Edward Lorenz. Back in the 1960s, Lorenz discovered that tiny butterfly scale changes to the start of his computer weather model could result in anything from sunny skies to violent storms. The main idea of this concept is that small changes can create large impacts and influence complex systems. This concept is imagined with the idea that the flap of a butterfly's wings can cause a typhoon. Of course, the singular act of a butterfly flapping its wings cannot cause a typhoon, but it's the notion that these small events serve as catalysts, which act on these smaller occurrences and create reactions that lead to larger results. There are so many different displays of the butterfly effect throughout history. For example, back in 1928, a scientist by the name of Alexander Fleming discovered mold juice growing on an unused petri dish and noticed dying bacteria near the mold. He could have easily chosen to throw out the moldy dish, but chose not to, which led to the discovery of penicillin, which we still use today. Or during the time of the French Revolution, many skillful French chefs who worked for the wealthy lost their jobs, and they were left with limited options, so they decided to open their own restaurants. Many of Europe began to do the same, copying these chefs, and French cuisine was born, which dominates fine dining and the culinary world till today. Even though these are only two examples, there are many more, like little pieces of snow falling off a cliff resulting in an avalanche, or the first person who decided to throw plastic in the ocean, creating the mess of what we now have today. The same point still remains. Small-scale actions result in big changes. Now, we have looked at this phenomenon on a large scale and have seen the impact it's made throughout history. But the butterfly effect is still relevant till today and plays a role in the lives of many and impacts millions. I've seen this effect personally in my life, demonstrated through community service and volunteering. Back in the summer of 2020, when COVID restrictions started to wear off, my church started conducting a local monthly food drive. Every month, we would pack boxes of an assortment of foods and goods while also serving fresh meals and smoothies to our community. Through this initiative, we were able to help hundreds of families in the Durham area during a time of need. At first, I had little interest in volunteering. Sure, I was helping my community, but I felt like the actions being taken were too small, so in the grand scheme of things, they didn't matter. But this turned out to be false and a wrong mindset of thinking. Those little things, like a 40-minute drive to the farmer's market, waking up an hour earlier than normal, or grabbing boxes from places like Costco, created big impacts. I will never forget my conversation with Miss Victoria. She was explaining to me and a group of other people how helpful these food drives were. She explained to us how she was the only financial contributor in her household due to her husband being laid off of work due to COVID. So money was a little tight in their family, and it became harder to put groceries on the table due to the prices increasing from things like COVID and inflation. However, with the help of our food drives, we were able to help her put food on the table for her family and also helped her save money in various different ways. During Christmas season, our church also hosted an annual toy drive. We allowed families to pick up different toys for their kids. Many times throughout the holiday season, I'd be up at a family's friend's house, wrapping gifts to give out to the kids. This is something I was used to doing every year, and once again, saw it as insignificant. But those gifts given out were able to bring joy to the hearts of many children across the triangle and relief to many parents who may not have been able to afford those gifts otherwise. Many of us in our church are also Nigerian, so we also collect and donate a lot of things like clothes and shoes to donate back to families over there for their use due to poverty. Many of the clothes and shoes we collect here in the United States can appear to seem worn out or beat down and ugly. But overseas, in a foreign country like Nigeria, those shoes could become someone's first birthday or Christmas gift, and those clothing could become their first piece of clothing they've ever received in months or even years. So, in all, do not despise the small beginnings or the little things. If the flap of a butterfly's wings can supposedly cause a typhoon, then your actions that you deem as unimportant and unworthy can create a difference in someone's lives or many lives across the world. So keep working in different ways to continue serving your community. Though it may seem minuscule, you can change the course of many stories forever. Thank you.